Hello traveler, and welcome to the series where I fully remake my cookbook, the CopperSpoon Chronicles, by hand. I have fully decided to remake my published cookbook by hand in the year 2026 to reignite both my passion for creating as well as just my creativity in general. I've already ordered a super basic calligraphy set and started practicing both my handwriting and my drawing with this tool that I have never used before, but I will do a fully dedicated video on the calligraphy set next week. For now, I want to talk about one of the most important parts of this project, the paper.
First things first, I had to make a Pinterest board with all of my inspiration on it because that's what's really going to get me in the mindset for this project and help me pick the paper. So like this here, I added in pictures of what I want the final tome to look like. I also added in references for kind of how I wanted to set up some of the pages or some inspiration of what I thought looked good as far as like layout goes. And I also did some references for drawing and the kind of watercolor style art that I wanted to add into the cookbook as like doodles. So with all of that kind of set in place and freshly looked at in mind, I set out to look for some homemade paper. Now originally I wanted to make the homemade paper myself, but we live in a small 2-bedroom apartment and we just don't realistically have the space, nor do I really have the time to actually make 90 full sheets of paper that's handmade, especially when I've never done it before. So instead I went to researching, and it was really hard finding anything that was perfect for what I wanted, but this ended up being close enough. It came in a pack of 100 sheets. It was this nice deep brown color. It had the kind of like rough edges to it. I wish it was a little bit more textured and have a little bit more color variation, but it was going to be good enough. Then I got it home and I started folding and folding and folding. Now this is going to be a comically large book as compared to what the normal cookbook looks like, but it's going to be absolutely perfect because Cob CopperSpoon is a halfling, and so this massive book I think is going to look perfect on my proportions to make me look more like a small little halfling instead of the 5'11" giant I feel like I am sometimes. So I was overall pretty pleased with this paper selection, and I just folded them into booklets of 6 of each page folded in half to kind of make the small booklets that would then be put together to make the one big final book at the very end.
This is actually starting to look kind of like a book. Now it just needs everything else that's going to make this an actual book. So let's get to writing. Okay, it's finally time to actually get started on the writing process of this. Now, with this, I basically want to focus on just having fun with it. I want this to feel like Cob CopperSpoon sat down and was just writing in a journal to herself. Realistically, if Cob went on this journey by herself, she's not expecting to show it to anybody else, maybe just family members down the line. So I'm not going to focus on putting in the chapter titles at the beginning of each section, or even making sure the lines are straight. I'm not even worried about food or drink spills on this because I want it to feel used, I want it to feel handmade, and I want it to feel loved. So I'm just going to get started and I'm just going to have fun with it. I love the messy, imperfect look. I'm going to do my best to make it look nice, but I'm not too worried about making it perfect.
In case anybody is wondering, this is a chicken Caesar salad that I am eating with a glass of iced tea on the side. You're probably going to find me snacking on foods very often in these videos. 1, because I love snacks, but 2, because I really want these pages to look messy. I want it to look like Cob CopperSpoon is snacking and writing down recipes. So I'm probably going to be having snacks in a lot of these videos, if anything, just for continuity to mess the pages up as much as possible. This is one of my favorite parts of the whole process because the line art that you get from doing the actual calligraphy just really brings the drawing together and brings it to life. This particular image is referenced from the cookbook itself. I actually didn't draw this character. My amazing ghostwriter Julia Bland did, but I got her permission and she said that I could use the art from the cookbook as reference for this project. And so I'm not super great at character artwork or little character drawings, and so I was very nervous doing this one as my first drawing of the project, and I'm just very happy with how it came out. I really like how she turned out. It's a little bit muddy in a couple of spots because I should have waited a little bit longer for the watercolor to dry between the watercolor and calligraphy, but again, I think it adds that homemade look of just Cob CopperSpoon being impatient and not fully waiting for her pieces to dry in between drawing on them, and overall I think it came out very cute and fit on the page very well.
I think the drawing came out really cute. Is it perfect? Definitely not. I should have waited a little bit longer for it to dry before I added in the black ink over the top of it, but I do think it still came out really cute. I think it's positioned on the page really well. I think it was definitely a smart idea to fit it in after I had finished the writing process, and altogether this one page took me probably around an hour, so it's honestly not too bad. The writing section went a lot quicker when I got into a groove. This paper definitely catches on the calligraphy pen a little bit, which I was worried about it rupturing through to the other side and making, it hard to be legible on the other side. But after checking it afterwards, it looks like it's actually not going to be a problem at all. There was no bleed through on the other side. None of the ink got through. So even with this little ink splotch that I got down here on accident, nothing bled through the actual paper itself. So I think that this paper is going to work perfectly for this project. And now I have a game plan going forward. Now it's just a matter of writing out all of the other 300 pages of the actual book itself. Now, something that I haven't talked about yet, but that I want to do for this project is I want to include little junk journal inserts. So there's actually a map that goes along with this cookbook of kind of the realm that she's adventuring in. Instead of drawing that map on the page of the actual journal, I want to tear out one of the pages. I want to copy the map down, and then I want to place it in the journal afterwards as something that you can actually physically take out and have with you. So as I go along on this journey, I'll take you with me in deciding what little pieces that we want to make and add to the journal as bonus little 3D trinkets to find throughout the pages. Now that I have this test page done, it's just a matter of getting the ball rolling and writing out as much as possible. I'm going to keep all of the technique recipes that I have written down in here, but I don't think I'm going to keep the actual substitution section just because it's so long and I'm worried that we're going to run out of paper at the end. And so if we actually cut the substitution section, that's going to allow us about 10 to 15 extra sheets of paper that we can specify for more of the storytelling. And then I can always come back later and add more pages in if I want to add in a substitution section and even have it be one of the inserts that goes into the book. With this intro section fully complete, we are good to keep on rolling.
So as you can see, it's a new day and I'm getting started on this project, and this is the first actual sort of recipe page that is going to be inside of the cookbook. So on the previous page, I just used a fine tip calligraphy pen for the entire thing, just so I could focus on writing and not have to worry too much of kind of like making it in that calligraphy style, because I've never done calligraphy before. It's definitely not a strong suit of mine, but I still wanted to like give it my best go and use the right tools. So I just use a plain pen. Here I'm actually using a calligraphy tip, and I want to basically make the titles of the recipe look a little bit nicer. So this one is for internal temperature guides, and I do not know what was going on with me today. I could not spell the word internal. I don't know if I was just focusing on making the letters look good so intensely that I just wasn't paying attention to how to actually spell, but I made the same exact mistake twice, 2 times before I was able to finally spell it right. This was, of course, frustrating because I don't want to make this perfect, but also I want to make it look nice. And this was on the backside of the first page that we did. So I can't scrap this. We can't start over at this point. This is what we're doing. We're in. So I ended up scratching out just both of the times I messed up, and I kind of addressed it in a little speech bubble, telling the journal that it's not my fault, that the ink must be cursed because I know how to spell. And so I kind of just made a joke out of the mistake. I brought attention to it rather than just trying to work around it, because at the end of the day, it's a big mess up spot at the very top of the page here, and so there is no avoiding it. There's only addressing it. And honestly, at the end of the day, I think it's cute. I think it's cute. I think it works. It's not initially what I was going for, especially not for the very first recipe page, but what happened, and I think that it's going to be just fine in the final product. I do think the thing that ends up rubbing just a little bit more salt into the wound of messing this page up so badly is that when I went to go do the doodle for this page, I realized that in a fantasy world, people probably don't take internal temperatures of their food, because how do you take the internal temperature without a meat thermometer? Do they have meat thermometers in fantasy worlds? I am going to just say that they have magical meat thermometers, like this little magical wand thermometer that I drew here, because that's going to make me feel better about it, instead of thinking about how I could have just skipped this page entirely. So there's magical meat thermometers in this world. It's canon now. So this page, I really enjoy how it came out. I love the colors. They were really vibrant. I wasn't aiming to use as vibrant colors in this project, but I think it turned out looking really, really good. I went back and forth on a couple of the designs. As you can see, there was a pot down at the bottom that turned into a T-bone steak. I just kind of wanted to play around with some of the doodles on this page. The only one of these doodles that was originally in the cookbook was the actual dragon, and I think the chili pepper was in there too, but it wasn't red. It was just kind of like that brown tone color, and so I ended up adding in a couple of extra things, and I think it came out really cute. And of course, because I made the last page so vibrant, I wanted to come back to this page and add just a little bit of color to tie everything together. So during the process of making the cookbook, what we ended up doing was I took pictures of every single recipe. Then I gave those pictures to my ghostwriter who ran them through Photoshop and basically color blocked the pictures a little bit, kind of like added a higher contrast. And then we put them in a digital art app and kind of smoothed over some of the actual like color blocks of the picture and added outlines and the exterior doodles to the outside of the drawings to essentially make it look like it was more hand drawn straight into the book rather than a picture that was taken and then posted inside of the book, because we really wanted to make this look like it was handmade. So that was definitely nerve-wracking going into this project, knowing that I would have to draw these like realistic images from scratch essentially. But this is a prime example of kind of like one of those pictures that I think turned out really, really well. I love how the garlic and the thyme came out on this, and I think it fits the vibe that I was going for all along so extremely perfect. As you can see, it's a new day. We only have 3 pages left of this section. I did 5 yesterday, so we are on a roll and we're set to get this section done by today. As time has gone on, I think it's so clear to see how much I have already grown with this calligraphy pen. Just looking at the titles from the first page to these pages, I think that there's already a huge difference, and I can't wait to see later on how much more growth there's going to be, because I'm honestly a little impressed with myself. I didn't think I was going to pick up the calligraphy pen this easily, and I don't think it's perfect at all by any means, but I am getting better, and I think you can see that just from those first couple of pages to these pages. This drawing in particular, I was extremely nervous about because, again, like I said before, we were going off of pictures essentially. We were using a picture as the base for these artworks. And this is garlic confit. So essentially what that is you get a bunch of garlic, you fully submerge it in an oil or a fat, and then you roast it at a really low temperature till it's golden brown and soft and spreadable and absolutely delicious. But there is a bunch of garlic that's supposed to be in this cast iron down here. And I was the creative genius who came up with the plan to have a bunch of like garlic cloves looking like they were jumping off of a diving board into this pool of olive oil. And that's not super hard to accomplish, again, when you have that picture as a base, but without that picture of a base, I had no idea how I was going to do this. I was extremely nervous for this picture in particular, and I had been dreading it the entire time, but I think it came out all right. Is it perfect? Absolutely. That's going to be my mantra for this project, I think. Is it perfect? No. But I think it came out cute. I could have done better. I'm not like 100% pleased with it, but it is close enough to adorable that I will take it. Of course, we have to take a snack break while we wait for the paint to dry. Very, very important step of the process. I also must note that I definitely did forget to paint in the handle of the cast iron here, but I promise I went back at some point and I painted it in all the way because it looks really weird, just kind of not finished here, but I fully just missed it and didn't even see it when I was painting originally. This is another one of those drawings, so it's definitely a little bit hard to translate into watercolor because it's kind of essentially just like raw meat, and I think the pork came out really well. But we're not going to talk about the chicken. Don't look at the chicken drawing, please. Just ignore you ever saw that. Okay, thanks. This was by far my least favorite page of this section. I don't know why, I really don't like how the artwork came out on this one. I think the writing was fine, but even then it was a little splotchy. I think it was just the end of the day. It was the last recipe of this section, and I just was not feeling it anymore. But with that being said, I did get the last page done, which means we are ready for the final reveal. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Your support means the world. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date on this whole project. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We still have so much more to go, and I can't wait to show you what we have in store. Also, go ahead and like and comment on this video. Let us know what you want to see added to this project, and I might just take your suggestions to heart. You can also check out our Patreon if you want to really support the page, get early access to content, bonus content, exclusive voting rights. We have a whole thing going on over there, including weekly written recipes, so it would really mean the world if you would want to go and support us over there. But at the end of the day, it just means the world that you're here and enjoying this video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week, Traveler.